Hey, welcome back to another episode of Maintenance with Mike. So today we're back in the garage. It's a bit of a cloudy day out today. We're gonna do the first maintenance on the Mercury 6 horsepower kicker that we installed on the Tractor Pro Guide. It has reached just over 15 hours, 17 hours right now to be exact. The manual doesn't call for an oil change and a gear change at the 15-hour mark, but the marine place that I bought the engine from recommended changing both the engine and the gear case oil after 15 hours of initial use, which would be the break-in period. So in the manual it says every 100 hours or every year to change the fluids, but I thought for, I think it's 450 mil of engine oil and maybe just under 200 mil of gear case oil, that I'd take the recommendation from the marine place that I bought the motor. So we're gonna pull this apart. We're gonna fire it up actually and get it a little bit warm first, and then drain the engine oil and drain the gear case oil, and show you how to fill that up again. And yeah, so stay tuned. The kicker motor has very small parts and stuff. There's no real intake. There is one underneath here for water. What I like to do is just fill a garbage can up with water and then just basically dump the motor into it to get it warm when I'm running it at home. The other one, I can put the earmuffs on and run it that way, but for the small one I just put it right into a garbage bucket. So while we're at it, when the bucket's filling, I went out and purchased a new grease gun, which is blue for water, and this contains marine grease only. So this little motor has two grease nipples here and here. We're just gonna give those a little bit of the squirt now to make sure they're greased. A couple shots. There we go. Okay, so we're just gonna jump in the boat here and drop that kicker motor down. Not quite, it's in the way of the bucket. Come on there, little bucket. No, that's not. There we go. So a little more water in there, then we should be good to go. Okay, so we've got enough water in the bucket now that the motor can run safely. So basically you want to make sure you're in neutral, pull the choke out, put it to start. There's no priming, anything. This is connected right to the main tank, so give it a pull. There she's running. Let her warm up a bit. This is showing what it's idling at. So we're just going to pop the cover off now while it's running here. This is the oil fill, and the oil drain is right underneath here. I'll show you where that is in a second. I just want to make sure that the engine's getting warm enough. I just wanted to show you exactly where the drain plug is on this. So from the front of the motor, the gear shift is on this side, and the gas connection's on this side here. So right underneath the gas connection side, you'll see this little bolt that sort of hangs down from the housing. Right here. And it's got a nut, a bolt on the front of it. That is your oil drain for the motor. Okay, so that's nice and warm now. It's been running for about 10 minutes. So we're going to shut it off. So it's a 10mm wrench for the drain plug. We're going to try to capture some of the oil here. You can see the drain plug right here that I pointed out. You're going to pull that now. It's pretty tight. Sorry, the pan's going to get in the way for a little bit here, but it's just going to try to keep the mess to a minimum here. And there appears to be an O-ring on the actual bolt, so you definitely want to keep that and don't lose that. So there it is. Here comes the oil. That's obviously pretty clean. Looks like 15-hour oil anyway. Let's let this drain for a little bit here. So we'll swing this back around now. And put the drain plug back in for the oil. See what's going on here. Looks like it stopped draining now, which is nice. Make sure that's nice and clean. Make sure the gasket is on the bolt. $10mm snug. It's good. The fill is right here. This is your fill cap. We can put our gasoline connection back on now. It's the connection to the main tank. So the drain plug is tightened. There's no filter on this motor. We want to clean the O-ring around the fill plug just to make sure it's clean. Set that on top there for a second. Engine oil capacity 450 mil. So that's what we're going to add in the engine. Okay, so there we have 450 mil exactly of motor oil. And the reason why I'm doing this exact is there is no oil filter on this, so the manufacturer recommends 450 mil of oil. That's what we're going to do. I dumped the water out of the big garbage can, so I'm not going to actually fire this up. I'm actually going to take it out on the lake and get it nice and warm and bring it home and then check everything once I'm back. But I'm assuming that the manufacturer knows what they're talking about when they say 450 mil of oil, so that's exactly what we're putting in. Now I'm going to assume that's going to register somewhere on the dipstick, either the low part or the high part, I don't know yet. But my recommendation would be to run it for a bit let it cool down, check it, make sure it's still high enough to run, and then top it up if required. But the oil level is going to come up as it gets hotter as well. So you know what, if it's within the range on the dipstick, there's basically 2 notches there. If you're in between those 2 notches per the manufacturer, it's fine. So, and we will put the cap back in. We'll let it sit for a few minutes. Now, did they say in here I see some vehicles, you measure the dipstick by just placing it into the throat, and it measures on the marks. I'm wondering if this is to be screwed in all the way or just to be set into the throat. It's probably not going to say here, to be honest. There you have it. Mercury manual. Position the outboard vertical, remove the top cowl, remove the oil filler cap, wipe off the dipstick, screw the oil filler cap back into the oil fill hole completely. Remove the oil filler cap and check the oil level on the dipstick. So there you have it. Answers the question. You screwed in all the way. So it's not quite sitting level on this bracket, so wipe it off. Screw it in. Take it out. And it is right between the 2 notches. So perfect. Right where we want it. So the 2 notches I'm referring to are here and here on the dipstick. 2 little, there's the lower part, a line, the mid section, and another line. As long as it's in between these 2 lines, you're gold. So like I had mentioned earlier, once you've run the motor for a little bit, it's come up to temperature, let's say 5 to 10 minutes, you should shut it off, let it cool down, and then double check the measurement on the dipstick. So now we're looking at the leg and the propeller. Here's your drain plug here, and here's your vent up here. So we want to pay very close attention to the first little bit of fluid that comes out of this hole. Because if it's clear or milky, that means we have some sort of a seal failure. And it has an O-ring on it, so you definitely don't want to lose that. We want to raise this pan up because it's going to try to shoot. It's going to try to shoot out that way. So you would definitely want to catch this stuff here. No, looks fine. Looks like just gear oil. Exactly what we want. So that's good. That's draining. I like to keep the plugs in their proper order, so I'll put this one, which is the lower one, on the ground closest to me, which would insinuate that it's the lowest piece. And then we'll take the top one out now. Man, those are tight. And you're going to see that fluid come out a bit more now. See it running out there now. With the vent open. And the vent has a gasket on it too. It's kind of stuck against the block there. So we want to get a little bit of a pick there and pull that gasket off and clean it all and put it back together. Okay, so I've got a a marine filler that I've got from Bass Pro Shops, and it's got the little filler part on it, and all the hose attachments and everything. So this should come in handy. And I think that this will thread. Yeah, it threads right into the drain plug hole, which is nice. And then this piece, without dipping that in the oil, threads into here nicely. Look at that. What a nice system that is. Now we don't want to do that up too tight. There's no real need. And this has a hand pump on it. So we can connect that to the 1 liter bottle and pump the gear case up until we see it coming out of the vent hole. Make sure we grab the right one. This is the Mercury gear lube. So you just tighten this on to the 1 liter bottle, and we should slowly be able to pump gear lube up. Look at that, it's coming into the tube. We'll just pump it up slowly until we see it come out this vent hole. And then once you put the vent plug in, it won't drain out of here very fast, so you have a bit of time to put the drain plug back in. Sounds like it's getting closer to the top here. Yeah, there it is there. Just filling the threads now. They're just coming out a little bit. So we want to stop there for sure. You can see it just pulling a bit here now. Let that sort of settle. And we will put the top plug in, which is the vent plug. They call the vent plug. There, so there's the vent plug is in now. Just tightened up. A limited amount of time to put this one in once we take this out, so let's just unscrew this nicely here. There we go. So that's filled the gear case now. You may have already figured this out, but if you hold this, if you squeeze this in to pump it and hold it up in the air, it'll actually, the fluid will run down into the container to get all the fluid out, which is nice for putting it back in there. Hey, thanks for watching another episode of Maintenance with Mike. That is changing the oil and the gear oil in a Mercury 6 horsepower outboard kicker. yeah, I would suggest maybe checking the oil a couple times periodically to make sure it hasn't dropped at all, but the measurements that they gave us in the manual should be pretty much exact. The lower leg, you don't need to check the fluid in that. I will probably check it at the 50-hour mark. It says to change it at 100. At the 50-hour mark, I might just pull the bottom drain plug and see if there's any clear fluids or milky fluids, which would mean water's getting in. But other than that, I don't really see any other maintenance that would need to be done on that. So anyway, if you find these videos helpful, maybe consider subscribing to the channel. Maybe share them with a family member or friend, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Cheers.